Perfect.
This meeting is being recorded.
Hi, so my name is Joanne, and tonight me and Liz are on talking about skin inflammatory conditions, and we're going to go through different parts about it and just explain sort of what it is, what causes it, and how we can help improve it. So basically, we all have cortisol within our body, and cortisol is our hormone that is the main thing that regulates inflammation and can cause the inflammatory response within the body if it's not producing enough. So think of it as an anti-inflammatory sort of hormone. And conditions that we would come up with would be dermatitis, psoriasis, eczema, rosacea, even skin sensitivity, and acne is also related within the inflammatory side of things. So that would be the main sort of skin conditions that we would see within inflammatory conditions. So your skin could be red, it could be itchy, flaky, it could be puffy, swollen. They're just sort of the types of things that you would find on your skin if you're having this issue. So Liz, is there other conditions you might have seen?
Well, I personally suffered with pigmentation for quite a long time. And over a process of elimination, realised that that was to do with a lot of inflammation that I had in my system specifically. And even just sort of not necessarily acne breakouts, but just cycles of breakouts that, yes, although they were hormonal, because I can kind of say, you know, a specific time of the month, they were a lot better once I reduced the inflammation as well. So I think, like you say, there is lots of obvious inflammations and inflammatory skin conditions that we see. But I personally think that from everything that I've seen, most things that happen within the skin, inflammation is behind that to some degree, definitely.
Yeah, I would totally agree. Whenever I had COVID, I took a massive inflammatory response on my skin. So it was really, really red, lots of, nearly a bit similar to what you would see in a rosacea, lots of red lumps under the skin. And again, very, very dry, very flaky. And just no matter what you put on it, just everything flared it.
Yeah, it's so strange, isn't it? How, like, we often think about as well what's happening to the outside and what have we put on our skin that's making it be this way. But I think once we can start to understand better what we can do inside and other things that we're going to talk about tonight, but yeah, really pinpoint that inflammation and where that's coming from, like the improvement in skin happens quite very quickly, doesn't it? Which yeah, is what we all want, because when we have these inflammatory conditions, it does affect our skin confidence and our energy levels. Because it's important, you know, when we look in the mirror, we want to see our skin looking as healthy and glowing as we possibly can. And that's one of the things that I personally, when I looked at reducing my inflammation, have managed to get back, is knowing now what's kind of causing these issues and how I can manage them better than just the skincare products and treatments alone.
Yeah. And what all did you try to help reduce down your inflammation?
So we obviously are both beauty therapists, and for many, many years, even though I knew that food was important, you know, and kind of making sure that we eat nutritionally, let's say, that's obviously important for our skin, I'd always focused, like we're taught to, on skincare products and treatments. And I'd been for about 3 or 4 years really struggling, like I said, with pigmentation, cycles of breakouts. But like you were saying earlier as well, my face was inflamed. So I wasn't any heavier in weight, but when I look back at photographs, it looks as if I was, but it was literally just my face was inflamed because of the inflammation that I had. So tried a different approach, because somebody said to me at the same time as well, and I often think, like you were saying, then you had COVID, so you knew there was something else going on in your body. For me at the time, I was having really bad digestive issues, and I was under the hospital and getting checked out for things like that. It turned out actually there wasn't really anything that they could do, but at the same time as that also was bloated. And I could kind of pinpoint when I was having these digestive issues and my bloating was the worst, my skin would be the worst as well. So the two were connected. And I was just having a conversation with somebody one day and they said, you do know it could be your gut health, don't you? Now, yes, we're going to talk about gut health. And I know that everybody thinks, oh, I see this all over. Really, it can't just be all about gut health. But honestly, it's so powerful, isn't it, gut health?
Well, I was on a menopause workshop yesterday and it swung right round to gut health. And what I would class as your Mediterranean diet, which is something that we'll talk about tonight as well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, basically everything I look at the minute is thrown back into gut health and back into eating whole foods.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously it's a hot topic at the moment, but when I first discovered it in 2020, it was still kind of on the rise. So I didn't really know about how to do this. But what I loved about the approach that I took, that somebody helped guide me through, which we will explain a bit more about how we've come to find these products a bit later on, is a very simple program. And it actually is really, really simple when we're looking at approaching these inflammation within our gut. So to explain a little bit more, our gut is our second brain. It controls everything that is going on within our body. And this is where inflammation starts. Now, whether it is by the way that your body deals with stress or your hormone imbalance or how well your body's digesting food and the nutrients that it's able to absorb from this, how well you sleep at night, like you were saying earlier, your cortisol levels, that then affects your hormone, then affects like the oil and the sebaceous glands and all sorts of different things. The gut and the inflammation within the gut microbiome is there. So if our gut microbiome, which is our bacteria, if it's healthy and it's happy and it's thriving, amazing, so can we be and so can our skin be. But the minute that this starts to become imbalanced and inflamed, then, this is when we're having these responses, and specifically what we're talking about tonight, which is the skin inflammation. So really, really simple way of looking at this is, first of all, is to do a short-term elimination diet. Now, a short-term elimination diet is going to help you understand what relationship you've got with different foods and what are your triggers and what are those responses. So whether it's wheat and gluten, dairy, soy, coffee, alcohol, overly processed foods and artificial sweeteners and sugars. So those are kind of the core foods that we would look to eliminate. Whilst we're eliminating those, what we're going to do instead is focus on, first of all, more whole foods, but specifically, and it doesn't have to be a whole plant-based diet, poultry, fish, good quality organic grass-fed, meats, absolutely fine. Everybody has their own kind of diets that they already follow. But alongside that, making sure that we're aiming to get around 30 different variations of plants per week. Now, I think you probably feel the same, like that sounds a lot, doesn't it?
Definitely.
But when you actually break that down and you look at what falls into that category, it's fruits and veg, which is what we think straight away. It's herbs and spices, it's nuts and seeds, it's beans, it's legumes, it's pulses. So the list goes on. Quite quickly, you can see there that we've got access to a lot of those, and that is easy to fit in during the week. Now, giving your body a rest from those inflammatory foods, but replacing them with this diverse array of nutrients is giving our gut microbiome what it needs to thrive. And when it's thriving, like I said earlier, so can our skin be, because it's reducing the inflammation within our system, and then that's going to reduce the inflammation within our skin. Now, alongside that, I also recommend, which I'll let you can explain a little bit more about this, but just adding in a good couple of quality supplements. So a daily probiotic, which is great, and I'll let you tell them a bit about why, and also a protein powder, because we don't get anywhere near as much protein in our system in our diet, sorry. And it's great to have protein in your breakfast, isn't it? And start the day off that way with regards to hormones, but also healthy fats as well. So a probiotic, a protein, and making sure we're upping our healthy fats. And then that's what I did over a period of 30 days. And then when I'd finished the elimination diet, I'd worked out what my triggers are by slowly reintroducing things. But actually, as you found with doing the program as well at the moment, there are so many alternatives to these common foods. And once we kind of learn what's really in what we're eating, then we can make the right choices. We can find better solutions, better options, sorry. And we tend to stick to that because we're actually learning sustainable ways and sustainable habits along the way as well. So yeah, the probiotic and the protein, I think, are really important as well.
Yeah, definitely. Along the protein side of it, just for everything, for it repairs every cell in our body. So whether that's brain health or whether that's heart health or joints or muscle, protein is going to improve all of that. And like as you said, even looking at your sleeping, whenever you've got inflammation in the body, your sleep patterns aren't as good, you're maybe getting a bit of broken sleep, or you're just not getting the right sort of time. And along with protein, your sleep is whenever everything repairs itself and rejuvenates itself. So definitely that side of it's really, really important. And the good healthy fats is really important. And whenever I had the inflammatory response with COVID, I took supplements of my omega-3s. So I upped those, brought in, well, I was taking the gut health with the probiotics, prebiotics, and postbiotics. So I was taking that anyway, but along with that and the omegas, some antioxidants, sort of lots of berries and things like that through it. And then obviously the protein, which was, my skin came down very, very quickly. And a couple of other sort of diet things that I had looked at. One of them was beetroot, and I was eating beetroot. I was like, just loads of beetroot, because it was like, this is so good, but it's so full of antioxidants. So it was one of the sort of key foods that I keyed into at the time. But yeah, the sort of, you have so much options now available to us for prebiotics, probiotics. And when you think about even probably, I remember when I was a kid, you used to be able to buy those wee live drinks that you put in the fridge. So there's definitely been the talk about it for a very long time.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more coming through now to introduce to us and to give us the options there that's available. But we need a wide variety of good bacteria going into our body.
Yeah.
And if you've been ill or been on antibiotics and all of those sorts of things, then your gut health is going to be poor, and you're going to need to really introduce that into your diet through a supplement more than anything else. Because obviously we do have a lot of different live yogurts, but that's generally only bringing in 1 to 2 forms of bacteria. And I think we've got like 6 trillion bacteria in our gut, something along those lines. And even when we start looking at the foods and cutting down, if you weren't doing the full reset that both of us are on at the minute, you could take out dairy for 10 days and see, and just using dairy as an example, but you could see how that reacts within your body, and if it improves the sort of inflammation and things like that. And if there's no change, then just reintroduce it and try something else. And you do need to be taking it out for at least 10 days to sort of see that change. If you're not wanting to do a full diet,
of course,
sort of reset. But a lot of the things that can cause inflammation is like coffee and alcohol and all of those.
Yeah. All of the
issues.
things that we love, which is not fair.
Yes. How are you getting on without your alcohol?
yeah, fine. But the thing is, I think that it is only a short period of time.
Yeah.
And it isn't forever. And we're not trying to say at all by eliminating these foods that we should never, ever have them again, because it's all about balance. And so when I have finished the program, I'll reintroduce alcohol on a weekend, and I'll have a piece of cake on a weekend and a pizza on a Friday night, you know. So it's all about working out a good balance for you as well, because I'm not really one of restrictive diets. I don't know about you,
No.
but I just
and
don't,
I think
they don't
you
work.
learn when you cut out something, you learn very quickly that when you do take it, it's like, that actually really doesn't agree with me.
Yeah.
And you'll start to see what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So some of the things, it may not be an issue for you to have, and you can reintroduce it, no problem. But other things, you may think to yourself, do you know what, that is, that as soon as I eat that pizza or that pasta, I'm bloating, and you know then that it's the thing that's not for you. Definitely. Which I think is really important.
Yeah. And I think for me, it was actually, I'm okay on occasion, but it's when I get a build up again in my system of those things.
Yeah. Because yourself, you've done it, what, normally twice a year?
Yeah, so I do it on average of twice a year. The first year I was in, I did it 3 times because I'd got some holidays, and it just makes you feel so good, like skin's glowing, and so I did it 3 times. But then after that, I've kind of tried to do it about every 6 months. And even if I don't do the full 30 days, just like you said, if you can do 10 days to 2 weeks, I'll look at doing like some mini resets in between as well, and just do like a 14-day thing here and there, and that does really help. But obviously we've got the supplements and everything else that we're maintaining these results with in between, and obviously all of the things that we've learned on the program. So even though I am doing a full reset again, it isn't anywhere near as difficult, not difficult, but it isn't anywhere near as it's kind of a bit of a boost on what I've already done. It kind of compounds the results that I achieved the very first time round, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you're seeing the results quicker.
Yeah, definitely.
For me doing it, it was sort of end of week 2, start of week 3, before I started to see and feel the benefits of it. Where for yourself, because you have, it's a boost to you, so you're seeing the results a lot earlier on in the stage of the program, which is definitely really good as well. And
also I think it's important to say that if a lot of this information will sound overwhelming, and there'll be quite a lot of it, but what's the best way to approach this is to think that it's all about making small changes that you can then eventually build up to stack on top of one another. And not necessarily overwhelm yourself and try to do too many things at once, because we're going to come on and share a little bit more in a minute. But I do think that that's the best approach, whereas previously when I've tried to improve my health and wellness or my diet or whatever it may be, I've kind of gone all in and like really tried to do everything straight away, and it's just not worked for me because I felt as if I've got too many things to think about and it's just been too restrictive. Whereas if you build on things slowly, yes, do your elimination diet first. That's the first part of it. Take those things out. And then what can I look to add in over the 4 weeks that I can learn, alternatives of? And then after that 4 weeks, what else can I now do? Every couple of weeks, picking different bits and pieces to just keep learning and stacking these new habits on top of one another. And then it just becomes a lifestyle change rather than something that is a quick fix that doesn't work and you're not going to stick at.
Because looking outside of that, for inflammation on your skin, there is other lifestyle things that you can be bringing in to alter that sort of side of things. I had wrote down 2 of sort of treatment-based things that I would say to people to do at home if their skin's inflamed and stuff like that. And it's as simple as your stone rollers, so the likes of the Amethysty roller or the rose quartz roller, or the cryo globes. they're a great way,
Yes.
because even that puffiness under your eyes
Mhm.
is inflammation.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Yeah. And also as well, I think there's so much information out there when it comes down to skincare. The rise of social media and people that are not necessarily trained, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with this, because I think the reviews that they do on products is amazing. It means that we get access to information on so much more and so many more products, but not necessarily is that backed up with experience. And often we'll take advice from somebody and follow somebody else's skincare routine because their skin looks great on social media. But often what that leads to is us using ingredients that are not right for our skin and perhaps overusing active ingredients. And I see this happen a lot, which does then lead to inflammation of the skin because they are damaging their skin barrier, stripping it of its oils, the acid mantle and the pH levels being altered too much. And they're like, my skin's now oily, it's breaking out, I've got little bits of rosacea and eczema and it's itching and it's red, and like, what has happened? So as much as what we're doing inside, I feel is like more important, you've also got to make sure that you are using the right skincare products and that you're taking advice. Yes, look at somebody else's skin. If it's brilliant, that's fine, but it might not be that that works for you, and you've got to find what works for you.
yeah, and definitely the sort of your barrier on your skin being damaged is a huge cause of inflammation.
Yeah,
topically.
definitely.
And sort of everything I do, it's about 50% inside and 50% outside to get optimum skin health. So it's looking at both sides of it to achieve what you're looking for.
Definitely. And I think sometimes when we're approaching a certain age and we're starting to perhaps think about using products that are going to help us to reduce the signs of aging that we've already got and then prevent and age as healthily as we can do, we jump on to using lots of active ingredients. But actually, our skin will be at its best if we like focus on hydration and skin barrier and sun protection first. And then add the actives in on top of that, but keep it simple. And, you know, we don't need these 12-step skincare routines. We don't need to have 5 or 6 different acids on our face every day, like literally. And this is it though. This is what people see, you know, and it can be very, very confusing and very overwhelming. But yeah, you're right, it is. It's about kind of sandwiching your skin in between what you can do in the inside and what you can do on the outside to really help.
And even that sort of over, like you're saying, 12 different products on the skin, when it's inflammatory, it's about little is more or less is more. It's less rubbing, it's less, you know, friction on the skin, all of that side of it as well. Because if you're putting 12 steps on your face, you're constantly working at it. So you're constantly bringing blood to the surface of the skin. And if there's inflammation there, then it can increase as well.
Yeah, definitely. And also as well, when you're using too many active ingredients, often they'll either cancel one another out, so you're wasting your money, or they'll be too reactive together. So it's going to really like kick things off that we don't want to happen. So yeah, there's obviously a lot of information there, but it is just a case of kind of taking it step by step and looking at, you know, what do you think is going to be your focus first and building on that.
Yeah, and it's important to look at it as a full, I would say, a 360-degree angle of your skin. So you're looking at your lifestyle, you're looking at your diet, you're looking at where your skin lives, what it breathes, sort of even the blue light that we're sitting in front of here now, it's protecting yourself against that so that you're not causing issues on the skin. So it's a full, you have to look at every aspect and every angle of it.
Definitely. And circadian rhythms as well, because that's super, super important. And we've not got much time left, but we can talk about that on another week down the line. We've got lots of different things that we want to talk about, but getting outside, getting fresh air, getting into the sunshine, you know, some of us are so interior and so like inside people, that we're not getting out and about and getting what our skin needs. It does need to be outside and in the oxygen and everything else.
Yes.
As long as it's protected with SPF every single day, whether it's the winter or the summer, you need SPF on every day as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're interested in finding out more about the gut health program that we've been talking about, the elimination, you'd like any more help and support, we both work behind the scenes with an amazing team. We've got lots of different resources and an amazing program that we're both following at the moment. So if you would like any information on that, yeah, just reach out to either of us and we'll share that over for you to have a look at. And if you've got any questions on anything that we share, then again, you know, just reach out and ask us. We love to talk about this stuff, don't we?
Too much.
Yeah, and I'm excited. I was like messaging a bit ago saying, you know, there's so many ideas that we've got of what we can talk about, and that this series will really grow, and we're going to bring as much value as we can to kind of, I think, just help people navigate this in a way that's simple and effective, because there's a lot of information out there, isn't there?
Definitely.
All right.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Joanne, and enjoy the rest of your evening. I'll just
You too.
stop recording and that can save.